thank God that we're still alive. And of course, we, you know, commiserate with those who've lost loved ones and those who are sick and that kind of thing. And we pray that those who are sick will recover. Yeah.
Okay. That's very good. Now let's dive straight into our discussion this morning. We come here today on the backdrop of a few things happening within the economy. The price of products and services is a little bit high. The average Ugandan perhaps didn't have the best of Easter, and of course they are waiting out for solutions, looking at government. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance seems to be dilly-dallying on what to do. The Minister for Finance explicitly stating that the problems that we are facing are not unique to Uganda. They may be peculiar but not unique, and that perhaps we should wait and outlast this particular crisis. Is that what you would suggest as the opposition in Parliament and generally within the country?
Thank you so much. Once again, the other day I saw a story that you did, and indeed you found that it was extremely difficult for people to afford, because even with 100,000 shillings, it was very difficult for someone to go to a shop and buy things that would actually, you know, be sufficient to take care of a family on Easter. So while we know that this is a global problem, the key question is, what is the government doing to address it? As we know, every government takes measures to address these kinds of issues. And, you know, we've seen many countries try, for example, to remove taxes on several commodities, reduce prices, taxes on fuel, and take other measures, basically, to try and get people out of this kind of crisis that they are in. That is the first thing that we would expect any state government to do. But related to that, you look at the local producers of, you know, the commodities here, and you ask yourself why the regime has not taken any steps, for example, to reduce taxes to cushion them. And that is what we're talking about. You remember when we came out of the COVID situation, the people of Uganda were asking that question: why is it that the government is not taking any steps to cushion the people who had been affected very, very seriously by the COVID situation? And of course, what they do, they believe in handouts instead of hand-ups. That's why they will say, oh, we've put 200 billion or whatever in UDC, in UDB. But then when you ask yourself, how does this money get to the common person to help them to help them up? And the majority of the people, if you go down to Chikubo and ask them if they've been able to benefit at all from these initiatives that the regime puts in place, nothing. So what we're saying is that the government, any serious government, would be actively, what I've had basically the regime officials say is that, you know, this is a global problem, so we're going to, you know, fold our hands and wait for the situation to calm down internationally. But you look at the fuel situation, for example, because the prices of fuel definitely have a bearing on the prices of commodities. Given, first of all, that we import most of these things that we use, even unnecessarily. If you look at the speech which General Museveni gave when he was coming here, he was criticizing the previous governments for even importing small things like pins, needles and all that. But like that, you can imagine, so many years later, almost 40 years later, it is literally the same situation that we are having. We are importing most of the things into this country. So that's why I'm saying that even the fuel situation comes in play. We've been talking about reserves, fuel reserves, for a very long time in this country. The fuel reserves available were built by Idi Amin in the 1970s. In the 1970s, you can imagine, in Jinja, in Nakasongola, the ones in Nakasongola were abandoned. The ones in Jinja were given, were handed over to some private people. But the fuel reserves in Jinja are only able to take 30 million liters of fuel. And what that means is that, and Uganda uses about 6.5 million liters every single day. Meaning that even if the reserves which are available are full to capacity, they would not even last us for a week.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, as the National Unity Platform, what is the specific blueprint on, for example, you spoke about tax freezes. What do you have a blueprint as a policy alternative that, for example, excuse me, that the leader of opposition, Matthias Mpuuga, is projecting to government to be able to take up?
Well, first of all, we have a manifesto which is very clear, and our manifesto,
you're not in position to implement your manifesto as NOP.
Yeah.
You must be able to pick from the manifesto and then craft what you think are policy alternatives.
And I was coming to that.
Yeah.
I'm not in parliament, and so for me, I'm speaking mostly for the party.
For the party, yeah.
But also, the leader of opposition, our parliament office, has come up with several policy alternatives which are available. And one of the things that both our manifesto and these policy alternatives say is, let's make sure that we give a hand up to the local producers. Let's make sure that they have incentives. You know, we are now talking about the coffee issue that, you know, has been in the news for many days. And one of the key things that Ugandans have been saying is that, why is it that foreigners, when foreigners come here, they are able to get tax exemptions, they're able to get incentives, they're given free electricity in some cases, all these things, but the local producers or investors are not given that kind of support. The government, every single financial year, is always looking for how to milk the little that is left from Ugandans. So for us as NUP, we believe not in handouts like the government wants to, you know, continue to do, and which we call patronage. But we are saying that we need to have a discussion on how to support local investors.
The government can craft the money it dispenses to the population in many ways. Yeah. Just over 2 months ago, there was a debate on whether the National Unity Platform was actually taking iPod money. Many think the handout was disguised to mean something that we are yet to get our fingers to. What do you say about that? Aren't you seem to be criticizing handouts, but convenient.
But the handouts we're talking about are the handouts in form of all these programs that they've been coming up with for all these years. They come Kulembeka, Intandikwa, they come up with NADS, Simani Prosperity for All. Recently they had a Myoga. After that, now they are talking about parish development model, and we're saying that that approach cannot work, cannot uplift people from poverty. You know, you can imagine how much money they're saying they're giving to each parish in this country, and you look at the households within a parish, and if that money can actually support these people. But also the approach generally is wrong. So when we talk about iPod, we've made it clear, first of all, that we're not in iPod. And I think it's a different issue altogether.
Technically.
You see, if you want us to discuss iPod, I can tell you that iPod is a loose organization which was put in place by some people. For us, we've castigated it for not living up to its expectations.
Okay, your NOP is in Parliament, MPs receiving money as part of the iPod dispensation. Perhaps one would say you went to Parliament after that kind of arrangement had already been put in place, but you're not categorically distancing yourselves from the funding that could come in terms either packaged whichever way it is. Are
you suggesting that iPod is the reason why there's Parliament?
No, I'm not.
Or are you suggesting that because iPod is there, that's why members of Parliament are paid, are given their allowances?
No. The fact is NUP has members of Parliament and, of course, the greater number, meaning it has a sizable funding.
Maybe let me just explain this to you, that there's a law of 2020 called the Political Parties and Organizations Act, which provides for funding to political parties. Now, 57% of the countries in Africa actually do this. 57%. Governments in all these countries or public funds are given to political parties to enable them do activities, to enable them do work and that kind of thing. But in Uganda, one of the key issues that you need to understand is that even the way this money is given, and you see that's the thing, the regime tries to focus us on the minor instead of the major. When they talk about money being given out to political parties, the other day they were talking about 23 billions. And NRM took a bulk of it, 75% of it. You understand? They say, and people should interrogate this. So for me, and in my analysis, I think that even this issue of funding to political parties was discussed at the behest of how can public funds support NRM. That's what they were trying to do. And of course, in that conversation, other parties which are in parliament, they said, okay, let's give them some money. But if you look at the money which goes to the NRM, for example, vis-a-vis what these other political parties get, it's nothing in comparison.
Why haven't you suggested reforms in the financial infrastructure for political party funding?
But this is what we've been saying, that the problem is that the media has decided to focus on the minor instead of focusing on the major. Because we are saying that...
But you are conveniently benefiting from what you describe as minor.
But that's what, no. The debate you asked me about, you even called it a handout. And I'm saying that is a wrong debate. The wrong debate, the debate should be, how can political parties, all political parties, in fact, even those which are not in parliament, how can they be empowered to be able, because we are saying let there be a level playing field for all political parties to, be able to develop, to be able to run their activities, etc., etc. So what I wanted to emphasize is that, first of all, we are not in iPod, and it is very wrong for anyone to continue calling this iPod money. This is money which was put in the law. It is distributed extremely unfairly in our view, because we think that there should be a level playing field. All political parties in this country should be supported too. And also, it's just not about the money, but also about the playing field for all political parties to be able to thrive in this country.
Okay, you do put the media on the spot for apparently focusing on the minor instead of the major, but I can assure you we are going to interrogate this to the best of our ability to ensure that actually even the minor aspects that continue to bedevil the political landscape are dealt with. Let me just come to the aspect of the National Unity Platform coming to the political space. Many were hopeful. They thought you were going to present a new way of doing things, especially as the opposition. Many right now can confidently say the train has lost steam. Your members of parliament, some of them, are virtually non-existent on the debate platforms. What is going on?
I mean, maybe you're giving your opinion, because I don't think if you asked an ordinary man, I would agree with you.
I'm hosting you.
But what I'm saying is that when you say the train has lost steam, maybe you're giving your opinion. But what I think and what I know is that the National Unity Platform and the People Power Movement will continue to believe in what we stand for, and we continue to promote those ideals which we want to see in this our country. Our parliamentary platform, I would really want you to go to that office and see how many policy alternatives they have been able to suggest. And that's why I say that sometimes the problem is a focus on the minor and not the major. That our parliamentary platform, almost in everything that has been on the floor of parliament, our team in parliament has come up with very, very good policies in alternative to what the regime is peddling. Okay. Secondly, our main issue, that's why we say we are removing a dictator. That is what we're here for. And every single day we ask ourselves, what can we do to make sure that we change this country? You're talking about the coffee deal, you're talking about prices of commodities, you're talking about the situation in Karamoja. All these problems that you're talking about, we believe that they cannot go away if you still have a regime which does not believe in the rule of law, which does not have the legitimacy, which does not have the mandate of the people. In the right sense of the word.
Okay, talking about Karamoja and the insecurity there and where the debate should be, especially we think it's a very major issue. It has the potential to be a tinderbox for future civil unrest. What is happening in Karamoja within the view of the National Unity Platform?
No, there's a security in Karamoja, but you see the challenge is that this regime and many people prefer to look at this as for example, security issues, and not look at them as social, political, economic issues. We were in Karamoja during the campaigns, and if you look at the poverty there, regardless of the resources that are within Karamoja, people are poor, people are desperate, people are not going to school. you know, the education levels are really, really down. So when you look at this only as a security issue, you're missing the point. And for us, we're saying that the problem in Karamoja goes beyond that. When we were growing up, there was this saying of, we shall not wait for Karamoja to develop. And it seems that the NRM regime has continued with that mindset. And we're saying that for us, our approach is leave no one behind. That is why one of the core values, or one of the things that we stand for in NUP, is inclusiveness, inclusive economic development. So what is going on in Karamoja? Of course, there are many theories or schools of thought. And in this country, because of the secret nature or secretive nature within how the regime operates, you cannot even get to the root of it. Because some people in Karamoja, they were hosting some people in Karamoja, and they were saying these raiders are actually working for some people in government. That was their allegation.
It was an allegation.
That was their allegation.
What do you think?
I mean, I am not in Karamoja to tell you that this is true or this is not true. And I'm not, you see, that's what I'm saying, that if you had a government which the citizens actually trust, you would be able to rely on either the police or the military to carry out investigations, solid investigations. But if it is the same government being accused of certain things. So I want to tell you, for example, the misfortune of the geologists who were killed there. You saw the situation, very unfortunate. But these people apparently came and said, you're taking away our minerals. Why are you here? The translator apparently tried to explain to them, but these people would not have any of it because they don't trust the government. They think the government just comes, takes away minerals and other resources from that area, goes away, and does not invest in that particular area. What happened to the idea, for example, and that's what we've been talking about Hoima and the oil, the Albertine region, that whenever there is a mineral resource or whatever other resource in an area, oil, whatever, 30%, I mean, that's just something that I'm just telling you because that was one of the recommendations we made at some point. 30% of the proceeds from these resources, natural resources, should be invested in that area. The people who come from that area must benefit. You understand?
I do.
So, for example, that is how we think the Karamoja, that is in part how we think the Karamoja situation can be solved and can be resolved. It is not just about deploying the military there. You've seen what they're doing, killing people. Every single day, people are dying in Karamoja. There are other approaches which you can use.
Let's interrogate them. What are those approaches? Because you said in part the security situation can be addressed by the military deploying. The socio-economic aspects within Karamoja, the National Unity Platform manifesto, did it have anything to address Karamoja? We
talked about, because our manifesto addresses the whole country, so it was all about inclusive economic development. Trying to say that let all regions be treated equally, let everyone benefit. It shouldn't happen where people feel that there are some region. Yeah, and that's why we're even talking about affirmative action. In our manifesto, if you look at it, we're saying that if there's someone who needs a hand up to be able to catch up with the rest of the country, let us be given that kind of hand up. So if you look at it is comprehensive, and this is our thought that a place like Karamoja and other regions which fall in that category, if you look at southwestern Uganda, there are some areas which are really, really not doing well. And also sections of the population, you know, the Batwa, the Maragoli community, the Ik, and others, who must, in our view, be given affirmative action to be able to catch up with the rest of society. If in terms of scholarships for education, in terms of opportunities, in terms of healthcare, and all those other things, to be able to help them catch up with the rest of society, as it were. But most importantly, the regime always looks at these issues as military security problems, instead of looking at them as socio-economic, political issues that need to be resolved in that manner.
Let's talk about how the party is handling its young Turks. Most of them are members of parliament. But again, we do hear out a lot of people who claim that the National Unity Platform seems to encourage a certain way of doing things that borders on violence, extremism, so much so that when, for example, a person comes up and speaks either against the principle or some of the issues that the National Unity Platform is affronting, there seems to be a near vagabond-like, you know, response and reaction to things. You, as leaders of the National Unity Platform, must be seen to come out and state very clearly, but you haven't. What the hell is happening?
Well, you speak like Museveni, like General Museveni, who first of all perpetrates violence against us and then comes up to say we are violent.
I do not believe in violence.
No, what I'm trying to say is that first and foremost, we are a non-violent group of people. We have made that clear. I want you to go back and look at the footage of the campaigns, for example, and see how peaceful our campaigns were at all times until the regime forces came in, fired tear gas, started beating up people, etc., etc. We are not violent, and we've made that very clear. So the talk of violence, that's why I say that you seem to be reading from the same scripture, General Museveni.
No,
because
I'm not.
That is what he says.
I follow the trends in the country.
That is what he says. He normally, you know, his approach, and he used to do that with FDC and other political parties that were there before us. He brands you violent because he wants to deal with you violently. He says you are violent because he wants to deploy his military, the police, and other security forces to deal with him militarily. So we refuse to be branded as violent at all. But when you talk about some elements of indiscipline and, you know, whatever attacks that you're talking
insulting people,
one of the questions, you know, it is very wrong to always look at the effect and not the cause. You have a population of 85% in this country which has not seen a different president all their lives. Each year they have gone into elections which have been rigged. You say you follow trends, and I'm sure you know what has been going on in every election. They have been disenfranchised. They do not have jobs. Many of them are disempowered. What do you expect of such a group of people? And unfortunately, you choose to focus on the effect and not the cause. You know, you need to understand the cause. You need to understand, why are these people desperate? Why are these people angry? Why is it that, you know, they're angry at everyone, they will lambast everyone? And it's understandable. It's not that we are from Mars. We all know the situation of the young people in this country. That you have a group of people which has been disenfranchised, which has been left to its own, where majority of these people are unemployed. You know the levels of unemployment in this country. You're talking about social media. The regime wakes up on a morning, switches off Facebook. These people have to get from the little they have to buy data, to do whatever. And then you come up and ask why these people are sometimes very angry, especially at people who are promoting the regime, one or the other, vis-a-vis. So you need to understand the cause of that anger, and that is why what I think should be addressed.
It is important in understanding the cause of the anger, as you put forth, to be able to also be seen to condemn some of these, the trend and the slant into this kind of language, because it's important, no doubt. But for example, when you say they have a reason as to why they are doing that, then perhaps somebody could say you are, in a way, encouraging it to go on.
But I already told you that we are non-violent, and that is what we've been peddling every day. Our principal, our leaders have come up every other day.
Is this a recipe for disaster?
Of course it is. And, you know, I keep wondering.
What is your part in ensuring that disaster does not happen?
For us, of course, what we want to do is to remove a dictatorship, because we believe that once that happens, if the regime, if government goes into the hands of the people who know what to do with power, then we will be able to cater for those young people. We will make sure there are jobs, there are opportunities. We'll make sure that, you know, we will make sure that we can come up and explain where we have failed, because that's one of the challenges we have in this country. It's very, very few times when the government, so-called government, comes up to give an explanation on actually what they have failed to do. A responsive government, a government which is there to serve the people, and that is why democracy is defined as the government of the people, by the people, for the people. I want to focus on for the people. How do you make sure that the government and whatever you're doing is for the people? The government should come up and explain to the people if they are failures, if you fail to do something. But I will take you back to what happened last year, the Kayunga by-election.
Very quickly.
Where a government comes, rigs elections with impunity. We have all the DR forms which show we have won. How do you expect these young people to behave or to respond in such a situation? So while we tell them, be non-violent, do this and that, you need to understand the source of the anger, the source of frustration.
Your principal, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, has been globe-trotting from European capitals to the United States, lobbying and of course speaking to foreigners, as some of the people within government describe that. Could you take us through what is the issue that is going on? What is the National Unity Platform lobbying for? Or are we seeing a leader who is falling into the traps that perhaps President Yoweri Museveni also fell into after coming into power, even when he's yet to have the power?
Actually, General Museveni started globe-trotting before he came to power. He was in all these Western capitals asking for support towards the NRA. I always wonder about the hypocrisy of the regime.
Kyagulanyi is asking for support?
Yes.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is that almost every movement that has finally succeeded in getting power in a country gets international support. It's very, very important because Uganda is not in isolation. We are a country which, for example, is highly funded by donors, these foreign countries. And we've been saying that a country which does not respect human rights, a country where critics are tortured, many of our people are in exile right now. We're saying that that government, a government which the United States, for example, described indirectly, but described as illegitimate because they said that the election of January 14th, 2021 was neither free nor fair. So we're saying that, you know, you cannot continue dealing with such a regime which is corrupt, which is inept, which does not believe in democracy, in human rights and the rule of law. We are saying to the world, stand for the same values which you preach or which you practice in your own countries, so that the people of Uganda can be able to get rid, because we believe that actually foreign support to General Museveni is the oxygen that keeps him running. Without that kind of foreign support, he would be no more. So you look at the guns which are used to torture people, I mean, which were used in November to shoot people on the streets, and all these are imported. And we're saying that the world needs to understand this these challenges, and stop funding our oppression. So I want to, first of all, clearly indicate that even General Museveni, when he was coming here, and you should read a book called Mission to Freedom. They were always addressing the Commonwealth. It's the NRA series.
Written by?
It is an NRA series, so it's a combination of different, letters by different people. But if you see what they were doing, you know, they had an external wing, and they did everything possible. They were trying to carry out demonstrations against the Idi Amin regime, against the Obote regime later on in the 80s. And so it is important for Ugandans to understand that Uganda is not an isolated country. What we try to do, we are trying to get allies all over the world to see what is going on in Uganda. We want the regime here to be isolated, because if you violate human rights with impunity, there must be consequences.
Okay, we shall be, of course, watching how the principal rolls out some of the issues that are being discussed. I hope the communication machine is pretty transparent. Are we hearing much of what he's doing, how he's doing it, who he's meeting? Or it's a case of...
no, but you've seen, the other day I was in Geneva, and his speech was broadcast to the whole world.
The speech is the speech, but the meetings that go on...
No, but the speech was a call to the world, and if you see the conclusion he made, was he's calling upon the world not to be complicit in the violations of human rights, in the violation of democracy that is going on in Uganda. So sometimes we, of course, have some private meetings with leaders, and that's really not for the press. But most importantly, our agenda has been made public, that we want the world to understand what is going on in Uganda, because for a long time, General Museveni projected himself as a Democrat. But you are a Ugandan, and I'm sure you saw what happened on January 14th, where a regime, a small clique of people usurp the voice of the people of Uganda and impose themselves on a country. And we're saying that the world needs to understand that.
Okay, as we enter the final bend of this particular segment of the morning show, the Kickstarter, if you are just joining us, you are watching the morning show, Morning at NTV, the premier show in the land. The hashtag on Twitter is Morning at NTV, and hashtag Priscilla. You can be able to follow the conversation some time later or during the week. We can be able to interrogate some of your ideas in terms of solutions to many of the problems that are afflicting the country. On the show this morning is David Alois Rwongoya, the Secretary General of the National Unity Platform. Let's talk about the coffee deal. Uganda's coffee has finds itself in a storm. And there's a lot of issues that are going on, from the farmers thinking they are going to be disenfranchised by some of the deals that are being rolled out, to Uganda withdrawing from the International Coffee Organization. Where are we in terms of international trade? And we need to be able to hear from the National Unity Platform. It's a case of policy alternatives, but most importantly, how can this be dealt with?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think what I've said here already explains what we believe in. First of all, there's something called consultation in public administration. That whatever you do, you must consult the people concerned.
The stakeholders.
The stakeholders. The stakeholders in the coffee industry or the coffee production are first and foremost the farmers. This is what produces coffee. Are they consulted when you're signing all these deals? And that is the first and most important issue that we're dealing with. You saw the other day something interesting. The so-called Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, writes on Twitter and says, I am not even party to this coffee agreement. I did not know anything about it. So you have a government where you have a Ministry of Finance and the Secretary to the Treasury coming up to praise this coffee deal as a very good one. And the line ministry is not even, is distancing itself. So what kind of situation is that? So that is the first issue. Secondly, you need to understand that coffee is a second, after tourism, is a second foreign currency earner in this country. And therefore, it must be treated with some bit of caution. The person that you're signing this agreement with is someone you gave the Lwoa hospital deal, injected billions of Ugandan payers' money. Nothing has gone on there. They are now asking for more money to invest there. Before you hand over a different project to this person, can you first of all account to the citizens? What happened to the first one? I saw them talking, the project was affected by COVID-19 and whatever. Everything that does not make sense in the context of what they were supposed to do. So that is the other thing. If you look at that agreement, which I have, I'm sure you've seen it, and you look at the plethora of incentives given to this person, and that's what I was talking about. Tax exemptions, almost some form of immunity from making losses and that kind of thing. How does this help? Why is it that some of these incentives and opportunities are not available to the Ugandan investor, to the Ugandan farmers, etc., etc.?
What answers have you been given by the powers that be when you put this question to them?
But we are like you. We put these questions public.
For us, our mandate is ensuring that the public is well aware of these questions. You, as the opposition, you are in a position to be able to question.
Through which platform?
The leader of opposition in parliament.
That's what I'm saying, that the leader of opposition,
political party.
When this matter comes up in parliament, I'm sure the leader of opposition will be putting these questions. But for me, I'm talking about, for example, what the Secretary to the Treasury has come up to say in the public domain. And what we're saying is that before you give someone a near monopoly over something that is earning the second highest foreign exchange earner in your country, you must make sure that you're a bit cautious. You must ensure that you do a feasibility study, but also that you involve the people. Yesterday I saw the Katikilo, which work at the Katikilo of Uganda, asking why, for example, Uganda as a kingdom was not involved in this discussion when it generates over 30% of the coffee. When over 30% of the coffee is produced here in Uganda. So that is a case of, a government does not care the government is not concerned, but also does not care about the people. So those are some of the issues. But like I said, the most important thing is for the Ugandans to realize that they are on their own. And when you talk about the coffee deal, I want you to remember, for example, what the COSASE committee unearthed recently, chaired by Honorable Joel Senyonyi. You know, where, you know, a loan of millions of dollars is given to Exim Bank. Someone comes, says they want to invest in the country. The government, a few people sit down. You remember where Matia Kasaija was being as the Minister of Finance, and some officials were saying they did not even read the agreement in its entirety. And yet, when these few individuals sit and sign these agreements, they come back to affect me and you. Right now, you know how we are indebted. Almost every Ugandan indebted to a tune of 1.5 million shillings.
73.8 trillion shillings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And which means that every Ugandan, right, even the one who's born today, finds that they have a debt on their head. So when these few individuals sit and make these deals or sign whatever they sign, they need to understand that these deals are going to affect you, me, but even the generations to come.
Okay, that's interesting. Of course, we shall be interrogating the coffee deal and anything around it. But as we do wind up this particular program, allow me take a general outlook on the country's politics and the way forward. There are people who have spoken of the need for national consensus to bring together leading political figures to be able to speak and map out how and where exactly we should be able to go. What is the blueprint like for the National Unity Platform in ensuring that national consensus is arrived at? Because me and you, take it or leave it, NUP seems to drum the remove the dictator. What is the national consensus? What blueprint can we take?
But we have made it clear that we are not opposed to national dialogue. In fact, we believe in dialogue 100%.
Dialogue has been on for a few years.
What we do not agree with... No, it can work. You see, that's what I'm saying. But you cannot create national consensus without dialogue, in my view. It has to be preceded by dialogue. But the key question we've been asking, what kind of dialogue should we engage in?
Right.
First of all, we've said that the national dialogue should involve all stakeholders. It shouldn't just be a few political heads in a room with General Museveni talking. No, we want the people of Uganda to be represented in that room.
IPOD is one such.
But yeah, that's why we said that we're not going to join IPOD. Because in our view, it's just a club of some leaders.
It's very difficult to say, for example, that you agree and believe in dialogue as one of the tactics in achieving national consensus, but do not want to join one of those platforms or be part of the...
You know, if you look at the letter we wrote back to IPOD, we said we believe in genuine dialogue. We believe that IPOD is not genuine dialogue. So for us, the kind of dialogue we want to engage in is genuine. It's not a dialogue of co-optation. Because, for example, IPOD has been here for 10 years.
Give us the skeleton structure of the...
But that's what I'm saying, that first of all, we want a dialogue that brings together the stakeholders, religious leaders, traditional institutions, business community, the academia. Everyone must be in that room. Not just political parties which are in parliament, but all political parties on the political scene. We want them to be in that room to talk about the future of the country. Secondly, the agenda. We believe that the dialogue that happens in this country must have on its agenda the question of transition. Because 90% or 80% of the problems of this country emanate out of lack of a peaceful transition since we were independent. Uganda has never had a peaceful transition from one leader to another. And because of that, there are so many issues. There's so much anger. There's so much frustration. Every time power changes, it has to go through bloodshed and all that. And we're saying that shouldn't be the case. So on the agenda of dialogue must be the question of transition. So if you come and you're saying, let's discuss how to operate, you know, if you're a political party and you've seen how many times our political party offices are raided, you've seen how our offices are closed all across the country. You've seen how we've tried to, even just yesterday, our supporters were playing football in Buyende. And police came in and attacked them, tear gassed them, fired tear gas and everything at them. So what kind of dialogue can happen in such a situation? Because the other thing we've said is that if we are going to dialogue, let's come on the table as equals. Let's come to the people as equals, as stakeholders in the country. Do not put your foot on my neck, your boot on my neck, and say, let's talk. Mandela said it is free people who talk, who discuss. So we're saying that let the environment of discussion, first of all, be fair. You cannot say that you're not going to allow me to operate. You rig elections with impunity. We beat you in an election and you announce whatever you want. And then you say that you're talking about dialogue. So the kind of dialogue we want is a dialogue that brings together the people of Uganda. We want them to be on the table, but most importantly discuss the question of transition. And then they can discuss the economy, they can discuss other things. But we believe that transition must be among those issues that have to be discussed. Okay, Mr. David Louis Rubongoya, your parting remarks as we close the Kickstarter segment of the morning show. Well, I want to thank the people of Uganda. You know, some people always make a joke on social media that being a Ugandan is a tough job, and if you see that you're succeeding and surviving, you need to thank God for it. So I want to thank the people of Uganda for being able to stand amidst all these unfortunate incidents and that kind of thing. Once again, I've not had a chance to be on TV since we lost the Speaker of Parliament, so we continue to condole with the people of Acholi, Omoro, and you know, his family for the loss of the Right Honorable Jacob Olanya. And we continue to call upon the people of Uganda to get involved in changing this country and making it better. We were closing this, but you spoke in your parting remarks about something that I believe can be interrogated just very briefly, the aspect of the leadership gap that has been left by the deceased Speaker, Jacob Olanya. Does the National Unity Platform plan on bringing forth a candidate in Omoro? Yeah, we are having meetings and we are discussing. Internally, we're studying the ground and everything, and we're going to make an announcement very soon about that. The principal had what appeared to be a rough time when he went to commissariat and, of course, talked to the Mosei Okori, rather. The son was Lokori. What happened? But that's the same thing. I don't know why you're speaking. Why dramatize? You're speaking like General Museveni here. The man was. Our principal had a very good visit to the north. You chose to dramatize to northern Uganda. He had a very, very good visit to the north, and I think if you're to look at the visit, it went very successfully. It was on social media, and but that's what I'm saying. That when you choose focus on, it's not a minor. Because, for example, it's not a minor. For example, some people are saying that the money was rejected until we came up with a video where the father of the Right Honorable late Speaker received this money, appreciated the team, and they went and laid the wreath at the grave and went away. The entire. So whatever you've heard about that visit, it is peddled by regime apologists. These people tried to frustrate the visit, the RDC, DISO, etc., etc. They even at some point hired goons to try and attack our team. But guess what? The same people they attacked, when they saw our principal, they started waving at him and saying, people power, our power. So whatever schemes the regime tries to do, I can tell you they can do whatever they want, but the people of Uganda know what they want. David Louis Rubongoya, the Secretary General of the National Unity Platform, many thanks for making time and giving us those insights and perspective on the coffee deal, the situation in Karamoja, and what the National Unity Platform is up to. Here on the morning show, we continue to drum the fact that the economy is bleeding and that solutions are needed to ensure that we actually ease the pain of the average Ugandan. The Ministry of Finance is having a lot to say